Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to the Anyone Can Farm live chat, Tuesday night edition. I'm Mark, your host, coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. And today's date is, well, this is not helpful. It's the 4th of October, 2022. It was a beautiful day today. I think we had temperatures up into the mid 60s and not a cloud in the sky today when I got up this morning. By the afternoon, there was a few streaks here and there. All right, Justin's with us. How you doing, y'all? Hey, y'all. And the Carlson's Family Farm. Hello, hello. Hello to you. Welcome. Okay, so we got a couple things to talk about tonight. Tonight's show is going to be sponsored by Tribe Plus. Tribe Plus, all the workshop recordings, book club, live Q&A for the cost of 3 gallons of gasoline per month. The education will get you a lot further. And that's Jill's little message right there. It's also brought to you by the beef butchering class. It's the Anyone Can Farm beef butchering class. It'll be hosted here at Baker's Green Acres December 3rd and 4th. That's a new one, beef butchering. I'm going to be running that class. I'm going to have a helper that knows some of the nuances of cattle butchering, and that's going to be Devin Ehlers, our very own Devin Ehlers. And if you haven't met him, what a thrill you guys will have when you do meet him. But I believe that we're going to have the same number of people in the class, so it'll be 12. The difference between beef processing and hog processing is when we do hogs, we kill them on a Friday, and then we're parting out the carcasses the next day. So we let them cool down during the night, and that's enough time. Hog harvest this year is going to be the first weekend in November. I think it's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We still have a few seats available in the class if you would like to sign up for that one. But this one's different because we like to let a beef carcass hang for about 2 weeks. And when I say hang, we want to hang it in below 38 is what we kind of aim for, 38 to 33. You don't want it to freeze, and you want to give it time to hang. It relaxes, and it begins the process of rotting is what it is. But that time of year and at those temperatures, it's a very slow process. If we were to just let it hang there, then it gets colder in the winter, and the carcass would actually freeze solid. And that's how they actually did it around here back in the old days. They would kill a beef when it's cold. That was, and if you didn't do that, then you were subject to flies. So we still have flies yet. They're not completely gone. They will be. All right, who else we got here? We got Brittany Pierce. Wow, long time. Haven't seen Brittany on here in quite a long time. Sean the Wise Man. Oh, Ben Carlson. Okay. All right, Ben. And then Keith Sutton. It was a wonderful day, High Tribe, he says. Well, good, it was. And I've got a lot of things working for me right now. I have a mouse here that's working. And it seems like the stream is working really well, so that's good. Because, we've had problems in the past, but it's working good. The beef harvest, though, we're going to have to knock down a beef 2 weeks prior. And then the first day of the class, it's a Saturday, Sunday class, we'll start with a live beef, and we're starting the process right from scratch. So it'll be the shoot, the bleed, put the beef on a cradle, skin him, cut his brisket, lift him up, get his hoofs off, get his head off, and then get that carcass prepped to hang for 2 weeks. And then day 2, we're actually starting in, or actually day 1, because the morning process or the beginning process doesn't take us to quite the full day. So before we break for the evening, we will actually get at the carcass and start to break it down into primal cuts. And then day 2, we're taking some of those primal cuts and breaking them down into subprimals, and that's where you get the cuts that you are going to be packaging up and freezing. And we're actually going to go through some of the packaging, identification of the cuts, and everything that goes with it. We're going to be making a lot of hamburger. So certain primals, we will just be boning them and then getting all that meat prepped for grinding. And so making hamburger is really a big part of doing a beef. So I think it's really good information. Actually, it's going to fit in. I'm going to sound like a broken record today, but our subject for tonight is preparing for winter, right? And we've done this one before. But every year that I'm in this, there's discoveries every single day. So I'm pretty sure I did a preparing for winter last year, and I'm sure I'm going to talk about some of the things I talked about last time, but there's other things that I've discovered, and I want to share those things too, and just get all of us in the state of mind that winter is coming, and we really should be in that state of mind all the time. We really should. I mean, honestly, I'm on this farm 18 years this year, and I am more prepared now than I have ever been. There are things that I may have let go this year, actually, and I did. I will be perfectly candid with you. I do not have my firewood in yet because it's something that we like to do in the fall anyway when it's cold. I do not want to cut wood when it's really warm out. I like it to be cold when we cut wood. And so I didn't do wood yet. And I'm fairly confident that of the 2 chainsaws that I have, that I should have pretty good luck with keeping them going and, all that stuff. And if I don't, I know where there's a place so I can get another chainsaw. So I am pretty confident that I will be able to get that done. But I'll tell you something, though. I called my normal guy because I usually get it by the semi-load, 10-foot lengths. And I get a pile of them, get 10 cords, 10 pulp cords, they call them. So they're not cut. And they told me, well, we don't have any dry. We only have green that we cut this year. And I was like, what month did you cut it? And she said, I can't tell you that, but it could have been cut last week. So I just can't use that. And so it kind of got me into that mode like, uh-oh, I've waited too long. And but I did a little bit more calling around, and anything around here, I couldn't get anything. But when I ventured out a little further, I found plenty of wood. So, and if it really comes down to it, I don't have to use anyone else in the system. We really can, take to the woods on our own and take down a bunch of deadfall that's out there, which would probably be a better thing for us to do, Hold on just one second. I got a dog that's right outside the door barking. You go lie down. Right now. So this year it's going to be a little different. There is a lot of things on the horizon right now, and we're unsure about, at least I don't know about you guys, but I'm unsure about mostly everything that I see out in front of me. There's unsurety as far as what you hear. Um, is there going to be everything from food shortages to nuclear war? Who knows? There's just such a glut of information that I can't sit here and tell you what's true and what's false. I have no inside poop, but I do know that that winter's coming. I do. You know, after all this time, I am pretty sure that when I see the trees start to change colors, there's a very good possibility that winter is coming. And what does that mean? I don't know. You know, I don't know everything, but I do know colder temperatures. The house is going to need to be heated. Water freezes. Snow comes down, blocks things when we're trying to do our farming. Makes it difficult to run the farm in the wintertime. I know that's coming. I definitely know that's coming. Now, last year we did not get a lot of snow. I think I plowed twice, right? That was it. But who knows? Who knows? I have to be prepared just because I only plowed a couple times last year. I have to be prepared to plow a lot this year because it could. All right. Now I want to approach this from the point of view of units of measure of energy. When we had our soils class this year, it was taught to us by Craig Schaff, the infamous Craig Schaff, and he had a great statement at the end of the class. That's a different dog barking now, by the way. No, go lie down. Anyway, he said that from here on out, you know, he's not saying you need to do this, but he's saying for him, from here on out, the rest of his time until things change, if things change, that he has decided to view everything in calories, BTUs. That's what he said. Calories or BTUs. But I think BTUs, British thermal units, are a measure of calories. So I believe that we can just say everything needs to be viewed in calories, right? And that's a unit of measure of energy, right? So calories, where do we use calories on the homestead? This is my thinking now. Where do I have calories on the homestead, and what do I use calories for, and how can I accumulate calories so that I can utilize them at a different time, right? I think a common way of thinking about preparing for winter or prepping, okay? We can go that route. I understand that some folks don't like the whole prepping thing, but we are preparing for winter, you know, and we need more calories during the winter for our bodies, for the bodies of our livestock. We got to release a bunch of calories in the wood stove to keep the house warm. We have to maintain our creature. It's like a war, you know. It's a war, and if we're sleeping in a cold house and we're not getting warm showers at least every 3 weeks, no, we should be getting warm showers, you know, every day, every other day, really, or every day, depending on how rigorous the work that you're doing is. I'm usually about an every other day in the wintertime, you know, and that's because I'm swimming in the morning. So I'm not exactly on my off day. I'm not exactly just sleeping in my clothes or anything. And until somebody says you stink, I'm fine with every other day. In the summertime, it's way less than that because I'm swimming several times a day, and I keep a bar of soap out there by the pool. Sounds a little gross, but it's the pool filter is running all the time, so we use that organic soap that Amanda Allen makes. That's really good, and we just keep some right there and just lather up with it. Good to go before bed. So I'm waking up clean, right? And then I go swimming in the morning before I get my day going. I didn't swim today, by the way, and it was a huge mistake. Why? I will tell you. Jill got up before me this morning, and I laid there. I said, I'll just lay here for a minute. Next thing I know, 8:15. So I wake up in a panic, the sun's out. And so I got up and I said, no, I can't swim today. I got to get right to it because I'm doing some things that have to be done. I've kind of scheduled myself because Homestead Hog Harvest is coming, and I have to have certain things ready for that. So I back up from there, and I'm getting things done. And the beginning of the week, I got kind of taken off the path of what I was doing, and I can tell you about that. But it's in line with the storage of calories. All right. Somebody's here that's picking up kids. My my nephews were here today. That's what all the barking's about. Hey, somebody do something about that barking, will you? Shoot those dogs. Okay. So calories. Beginning of the week, I guess it was Sunday. Jill went down to a friend of ours' place down here in Marion, Christie's Potting Shed, to see if she could get a bush or something. And it was 20% off all of the fruit trees that she had. So she got like 5 of them. And then I went down to pick them up. And I ran into our friend down there, and she said, oh, yeah, we want to get these things gone. And I said, well, how about those 5 right there? Can I get those? And they were the Jonathan apples. And so I grabbed them. And so I had 10 fruit trees that I had to do something with. And if you don't know, my history with fruit trees has not been very good. About half of the fruit trees that I've planted here have died. And just a sec, I got to deal with this dog thing. Deal with those dogs. Get out there and tell them to be quiet. All right. Dogs. They're still barking. Okay. I think they got them under control. All right. So I had to do something with those 10 trees. But my thought was at the time that I got them, hey, it's a really good deal on these trees. And how am I looking at everything? I'm looking at everything in calories. Now, if I have 10 trees going, are they going to help me this winter? No. But it was a decision that I made because of the position that I'm in. If it were 4 years ago, I probably wasn't where I was. I wasn't in the position to say, okay, well, I'm going to make this decision. It's not going to pay out for another 4 or 5 years. These are semi-dwarf trees, but it will eventually. But I have a day that I can use that day, and it's not going to disrupt me so much that that it should be prohibitive. So I did. Sunday I went out and I marked out where I'm going to want to put this orchard. And then Monday I was out there bright and early, breaking sod, getting everything mixed up, and I got the trees planted. I got them all in, and put sprinklers on them, and we're good to go. I don't have to worry about them until spring. I want to share with you what I found out about planting trees. You go to a nursery, and this time of the year in the fall, they want them things gone. So they will give you a heck of a deal on those trees. When you get those trees home, you think, well, fall time, is that a good time to plant trees? Actually, yes, it's the best time. If you were a commercial orcharder, you would be getting bare rooted trees, and you would be planting them in the fall. Bare rooted. Now, these are potted, right? Why do they pot trees? They pot trees so they're more appealing to the guy that's got a half-acre homestead. He sees them, he sees the leaves on there, he sees the bright packaging, and it's only $100 for a tree. I'll take it. And then you take it home and you mix up some really nice fluffy soil. You dig a $100 hole to put your $100 tree in, and then in 3 years it's dead. Right now, that's pretty routine. The tree dying in 3 years. Can you go back to the guy you got it from and say, my tree died, you should replace it? No. You go back to him and give him another $100 for another tree, thinking I must have screwed it up somehow and I'll get me another one. And that's the cycle that I have been in. And I really want to be a guy that knows how to plant trees, but I've just never taken the time to learn and inquire about how to do it properly. I just assumed that I'm not putting enough compost in the bottom of the hole. But what I found out with just a little bit of research was your goal is to acclimate the tree to the dirt that it's going to be sending its roots out in. And if you dig that $100 hole and then fill it with really nice stuff, the roots, whenever they feel that cold, clayey soil, they're going to say, oh, I don't want to go out there. I'll just stay right in this little ball. And they'll stay in there and they'll exhaust everything in that ball. And then you have a problem because they have not ventured out to look into the surrounding soil. So there's, one of these days we'll talk about it more, but I learned how to do it and how to do it properly just from a couple of trusted fellow homesteaders that specialize in that. And so anyway, we'll go into that later. All right. So how do you accumulate calories on the homestead? How do you do that? What are the ways that we can do that? The way I have done it around here is we will grow a garden in the summertime, take a lot of that produce out, put it in jars, can it, and then put it on the shelf. So we've got that, and it's an accumulation of things that we need for us. Okay, another way that I've done it with produce is I plant stuff late in the season. So for instance, I planted daikon radishes about a month ago, like last Tuesday, right? And those daikon radishes came up with a vengeance, and they're out there now. We've had several frosts, and they are frost hardy. So their leaves are bright green, and they are growing. We had really good sun today. The soil is nice and moist. They grow really well in cool soils. And so they're putting on a lot of weight right now. So how is that an accumulation of calories? How is that? How do I mean that? Okay, well, I have a group of pigs up in that area, not on that field, in an adjoining field, that I will be moving over there for homestead hog harvest. So from about November 1st or 2nd or 3rd, whatever it is, until they exhaust all those calories in that field, which will probably be the middle of December, because we're going to be taking like 4 to 6 of them out of there, and the ones that are being left in there are kind of small, and they're actually next year's pigs. They will be working every day diligently to store calories, those carbohydrates, in their little bodies. So if I were to take one of those pigs and do a calculation on it, they are like a storage vessel of calories for me, and they're on the hoof, so they're getting up and doing their thing. They are really working for me. I don't have to coax them into storing calories for me. All I have to do is provide them with calories. And if you look at livestock from a completely different point of view, you look at them from a point of view as sort of like your workers, right? Your account, your bank account, like what you have in your calorie account, and they're out there. They're just waiting. If you need them, you can withdraw calories out of that account. So in my case, I've shown you guys the grow area before. I've got 3 fields, 100 by 100. Field number 3 right now has got daikon radishes in it that are about that long with a great big plume on the top of them. A lot of calories out there. They're in my account. I've got them stored. They're out there. They don't need refrigeration. They don't need to be in a locker where it's heated so they don't freeze. They're cold hardy. They will go. We couldn't leave them out all winter, even though I never have, but I'm quite sure that a hard freeze, like a 20-degree freeze for several hours, would probably turn that radish to mush. It probably would. I don't know. Has anybody done it? Oh, wow. I'm not reading all these things. All right. I'm going to address that, Nance, because I came across that in my research about digging square holes. Yeah. I will address that in a minute. So I don't know if I could store calories in that field for the entire winter where I am in northern Michigan, because it gets pretty cold here. We get, it's sub-zero. I don't think that they would last. And I'm quite sure they wouldn't last. Some stuff does, believe it or not. Like kale, it will last. It will actually overwinter so long as we get snow on it. If it's out there in the breeze, it'll just, it just can't take those extreme colds, and it dies. It kills it. But if we get snow on it, as soon as the snow goes away, the kale is like, hello, I'm ready to go. Same thing with rye. You guys know I love rye. If the cleric's with us, she knows I love rye. She knows it. So that's one way. It's like planting late in the season. Will it work with everything? Could I plant corn this time of year? Oh, no, that's not going to work. But some stuff you can. Kale, ryegrass, not rye grass like for your lawn. I don't mean that. I mean rye that you like with the big kernels. Jill went to get me some rye the other day, and she came back with grass seed. And I was like, what's this? Not that I can't use it, but it's not the rye that I'm always talking about. A lot of brassicas will be able to handle the cold weather, and especially if you're in places where you're going to get snow over them, right? Especially. Okay, so that's one way. Is it a like canning them, like they're good forever. No, it's just going to extend the season out a little bit. And as soon as those pigs have eaten all that out there, well, then I have to do something. I have to provide them with something. Let's say I couldn't. Let's say that the wheels really fall off and I couldn't provide them with any sustenance at all, and they're starving. Then I have a butcher shop. Then they would be brought in, biggest to smallest, brought in one at a time, and we would relieve the need for storing more calories in them. And then we're actually in our butcher shop. What we do is we dip into that account. You know, need some calories here. I'm going to dip into that account and take them out. Of course, eventually, everything on the farm, the calories roll up to us as the farmers. Eventually, and we're not like commercial farming where I shouldn't say commercial farming. We're not like, say, factory farming. The way they do it, they'll do one thing, one process, and they'll do tons of it in the hope that they can maximize their bottom line. That's not what we're doing, right? Because if I did just pastured poultry, well, what am I going to do in wintertime? Twiddle my thumbs because I can't do pastured poultry in the wintertime. So where has industrial farm gone with that? Oh, we'll put them inside. We'll put them in a barn. And then, well, it's so cold. We'll heat it. And then in the summertime, they're in the same barn. But it's so hot, we'll cool it. And, it's all about the bottom line. So as somebody who would have, let's say you have several of those big, massive chicken houses on your place, what are you going to have a garden next to it? I mean, they stink so bad, and you kind of have your hands full because one of the things you do is you pull out all the dead ones. You don't leave them in there. So you go in with a loader and you throw all the dead ones in every day, and then you take them out and you have to put them someplace. You got to do something with it. And I know when we almost got into that commercial hog business, the rules that the pork association had were not conducive to other things going on your farm. Like they said, oh no, you can't have your own pigs. And why? And they said, biosecurity. You may have one dog. Well, how come I can only have one dog? Biosecurity. I want to have my own chickens. Nope, can't have your own chickens. Biosecurity. So they have all these rules, and they kind of gut you by the short ones because you enter into a contract with the company that's actually going to put the pigs into your barns. And if you don't play by their rules, you don't get any pigs. So then you have these buildings that you haven't paid for yet completely that you can't make payments on because you can't get pigs to go in. It's crazy the way they do that. It's just nuts. So you want to have a diversified process for sure, and you want to be able to play that process out in such a way that you can extend your seasons without highly refined energy sources or high intensity energy sources, right? So what do I mean by that? If I put in a butcher shop here that was, let's say, USDA approved, right? They would highly recommend that I do this, this, and this because that's the way it's done in the industry. They would highly recommend it if they're going to say, we certify this butcher shop. And one of the things is they would like to have very intense HVAC system. HVAC is, heating and cooling. And they will say that, well, you need that because you could have thousands of dollars worth of beef hanging in your cooler. And then, poof, you have a power outage during the night. It's bad news. And I guess they're right. They're right. But in the summertime, in order to keep that huge locker cool, you're burning a lot of electricity to keep that thing going. A lot. And let's say that cooler is quite good size. Then you have to have more HVAC, and that's a lot more investment in the HVAC, which means that cooler best be full. It best be full. So if you want to go walleye fishing in the summertime, put it out of your mind because you've got HVAC equipment that has to be paid for. Da 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 da. All right. Now, if you work a little bit more seasonally, like we do, and well, butchering beef is not the only thing I do. I do some of it, but I do it in the wintertime when if the electricity goes off, I'm okay. Because I don't, I worst case scenario, it's when it's super cold out, and my fear is that this carcass is going to freeze, freeze solid. Because if it does freeze solid, then it's not going through that hanging process that actually tenderizes the meat. It's pre-rot is what the hanging process is. It's what happens before it gets totally rotten and stinky. It starts the meat starts to break down, and that's where you get your tenderized beef. Well, so if the worst thing that I have to worry about is the beef freezing, then all I have to do is add a little bit of heat to the locker or wherever I'm hanging them. And generally, that's not as difficult to do as, let's say, the summertime when it's 90 degrees out and you got to bring it down to 38. That's a lot more difficult. In the wintertime, it's already cold outside, and the enemy against that process would be extreme heat. So that is a little bit of planning that was done as my life here went on, and I thought, well, now is the time I've got the money that I can put into HVAC. But then when I looked at it, I realized that, wow, that's a serious investment to pay back. I am going to have to be busy down in this shop all the time. Well, how am I going to do the other things that I need to do? So, oh, that's easy. Just get an employee. Oh, really? Just get an employee. Piece of cake, right? It's not as easy as it sounds because, well, am I going to have an employee to do my hay, or an employee to cut somebody's beef up? Which, it's pretty hard to get that happening. As it is, my kids are very reliable, but with haying, it's not something that you put in a 10-year-old's hand. It just isn't. So it wasn't something that I wanted to do, and so I didn't do it. And that's okay because I don't want to be butchering beef 24/7. I don't want to be doing any one thing all the time. It's not what I want to do, and honestly, it really doesn't work for a diversified homestead to be doing that. It really doesn't. At least I haven't found it to be that way. So the butcher shop is a part of this equation. And I know I sound like a broken record on this, but why would I tell you to do something or share with you something that I don't do? I could just say, well, if everything comes down to calories, get you a Mr. Energy and mount it on the back of your DeLorean, you'll be all set. If something happens, you can just throw a banana peel in there and you'll have all the energy you need. I don't do that because I haven't found the Mr. Energy machine to be real reliable. I think that it's probably in the future. It might even exist now, but I can't get my hands on one of them. So I have to deal with the conventional way of doing things, and it's good enough. I think it's fine. All right. So my butcher shop winds up being a vehicle that I can release the calories from those pigs. Like, let's say the wheels really fall off of things. And I mean, we've all heard it. Okay, there's an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse weapon is detonated over the United States, over Nebraska. And all of our cars quit working. You know something? I was in the military 20 years. I've laid my hands on nuclear weapons. I've put my hands on them. That's a nuke right there. That's a short range attack missile. Right, my hands right on it. I've never seen, and I was in B-52s, a lot of weapons. You learn about weapons. I never, ever was told anything about, oh, this one right here, this is an electromagnetic pulse weapon. Never. I've never heard of it when I was in the military. I heard about it after I got out from some civilian. And he's like, oh, you never heard of those? No, never heard of them. Never heard of the concept. So I don't even know if it's true, but let's say that happens, nothing works, and we have to unleash some calories so we can have something to eat up here. My 22 will probably still work. I got a knife that will still work, and I have a sharpening stone that I'm pretty sure that EMP is not going to take out that sharpening stone. And you might come here and we're only working during the day because the lights don't work anymore, but we're working. And what are we doing? We're unleashing those calories. We're making those calories available so that we can continue to pursue our process. And that process is creating more calories, keeping the animals watered, keeping them fed the best we can, and all that stuff. So, I I do harp on this a lot, and it might seem a little bit self-serving because, yeah, we teach butchery. We teach people how to butcher pigs, cattle, and chickens. But we do that because we feel because we do it, then we're able to teach it. And of all the things we teach, it really is one of the best tools that you can have in your tool bag, your survival tool bag. If you live in a neighborhood, let's say, and the wheels fall off, let's just say, I'm not saying that any of that stuff really is going to happen or could happen. I mean, World War II did happen, and some towns had no electricity for years, right? It could happen. I'm not saying that it's going to. I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball. But if something like that were to happen, I mean, we're going into winter. We could have a debilitating blizzard of 78 again, that we could be without power in a rural area like this for a month very easily. You look at our power lines along the road, and all the trees are right up against them. And, the power lines were put in the 40s, and the trees have been growing every year since then, and they're right there. So we could lose the distribution system like massively, and it could happen in several states, and it could be a long time before that gets put back together. I'm just saying it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't say that they manipulate the weather. I know people do say that. I don't know. I really don't actually know. It seems like it sometimes, but I don't know. Okay. So what do you got to do? What do you got to do to be able to store a lot of calories on the hoof and then be able to release them? Well, I don't have a butcher shop. Well, I wasn't born with a butcher shop. Matter of fact, when I moved here, there wasn't one here. And we were less better butchers then than we are now. But there was a tree out there, and I did wind up getting a big sow off of a guy. And we butchered it out there. And I had pork all winter long, right? There was probably 6 kids then. We added 2 after that. We added 3 after that. So there would have been 5 when we got here. And same thing with beef. We had a friend over here and he sold us a calf. And that was how we got our beef because we needed it. And that's how we did it. And now we have built this building piece by piece. And now it's to the place where I can literally go to a neighbor that has dairy animals and say, "What do you got?" Well, I don't like the looks of her. You can take her, and then it's just bang and drag her home, and we can release the calories that have been stored in there, and via like T-bones and stuff like that. Let's see what we got here. I know where I'm going with this conversation. Uh-oh. Did you quit working? All right, now you're working. I want to see if anybody's got anything in here. All right, Belva's with us. Welcome, Belva. And Nancy's with us. Says evening. Ghost, don't mind wet wood. There's always next year. If it's just rain wet on the outside, then canola oil works wonders. Huh. You mean, I don't know what you mean, but that sounds kind of interesting. What? Do you soak it in canola oil? I know Canadians burn wet wood. I noticed that when I was up in New Brunswick. There's a lot of them that burn it, and they figure it regulates it. Huh. Okay. I'll think about that. Maybe I should. I wasn't thinking like that. Okay, Inga is saying, seriously, this shortage on potatoes, climate change, Nancy says. My neighbor bought 10 Redskins. You better be careful with that. It could offend somebody. In a tiny bag at $5.99. Wow, that is kind of a lot for spuds. Okay, Nancy says, I was told when you plant a tree, you want to dig a square hole so it doesn't. Yeah, I saw that, but that was more, at least the gal that was talking about that was the Melissa something Homestead, and she's a pretty serious person. Let's see. I subscribe to her too. And she seemed to really know what she was talking about. Melissa K. Norris, Homestead. And she brought that up, but she thought that was a function of digging a hole and putting a root-bound potted plant in there. And those roots have already started going in a circle, and they just continue to stay in that hole because they don't want to duck out into the cold clay soils. So everything that I listened to the other day, there was a couple things that made me say, oh, that makes sense. One of them is a part of the trunk that's called the cuff. So let's say the trunk comes down and it bells out, and right under that bell is where the roots start to fan out from there. And they fan out in 360 degrees. So if you hold it up by the trunk, you've got a almost like a circle that they come off of, that they grow off of. So if you tear them all down, you kind of brush them out like you would somebody's hair, like a woman's hair. You will have kind of an opening spot underneath. And what I did me see if I can get a pen from up there. Somebody move this table. This really bugs me. All right. Have to go to the board. All right, so you dig your hole like this. You have your trunk that comes down like this, and then there's the cuff like that. And I looked at it, and I could actually see it very pronounced. And then from under the cuff is where the roots come. Not quite that simple, but let's just call it like that. So if you brush that all down, there's actually an open space up in here like this. It's actually quite open. And what this guy recommended was make the hole like this, so you can get these roots going down on the sides, but the plant will actually sit on this pedestal. Right? That pedestal will be right up under here. And you want this cuff, when everything's said and done, you want it planted about like that. You do not want it covered. In all these years that I've been doing this, I would say, oh, I'll put it deep. And then I'll get some more roots that will pop out, like you would do if you were planting, let's say, a tomato. But these are not tomatoes that we're planting. These are trees. If you do this, if you have soil up against the trunk, the microbes in the soil are going to say, ooh, let's eat this bark. And they will successfully eat a lot of that bark, and then they will restrict the flow of nutrients from these roots up into the tree. Now, as far as the hole goes, once you've dug this out, you lay that out on a tarp, and you've got a little pile of stuff that you've dug out from your hole. That soil, you want to mix it with the potting compound that's, you pull the pot off of there, and then you shake it right onto this. And it won't be much. And then you mix that up. So the mix of nutrient-dense compounds that are in there, it's going to be like a compost that's in there, to the native soils, which you are trying to encourage your tree to acclimate to, is going to be a fair enough ratio that it's not going to be a shock for these roots to venture out into the native soil. You want to encourage that, because then they'll put out a root system that's vast, and you won't have to worry about watering them as much. And believe it or not, in clay soils, there's a lot of nutrient in that. But young trees that are put at nurseries you're being marketed to, is basically what they're doing. If you were an orcharder, like I said, you were a pro, you would not be doing potted plants. You'd be doing bare-rooted plants. So when I shake this out, I shake everything out of it onto here. Then I look at it, I'm looking at a bare-rooted tree. Now, there's a lot of roots on it, and you have to manage those roots. You want them to start going in a direction that's positive. So I tucked them all down here, but before I did, I took a fork and I broke this up on the side of the hole. I just took a potato fork, I stuck it in there and bent it back, so that those roots won't hit a solid wall. They'll work their way into cracks that I've made with the potato fork, and we'll get a better result. But it didn't take me a whole lot of research to figure out what I needed to do. But that was addressed. Oh, dig a square hole, and that way they won't just keep going around in a circle. But I think it works in our mind, but why wouldn't they just keep going around a square hole? If it's not like a well, anyway, talk to Melissa about it. Melissa K. Norris. She said it's not true, and I kind of believe it. You can't really know everything that people are saying that it's actually true, but that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good, especially the thing about the cuff. And I was burying a lot of my trees way, way too deep. Actually, I found yesterday when I was doing that, my average hole was like 10 inches deep. Really, 10 inches deep. But then what I would do is I'd take the potato fork, and I'd stick it down in there and just like broad fork it back, just break everything up down there so that these roots can. And another thing too, and I don't know everything about this, but there had to do something about when you plant in the fall, you want to take all the foliage off of that. You do, because you don't want the foliage to continue to draw energy from the roots. In the fall right now, those roots, oh, wow, they're going to grow. They're going to keep going in the fall like this. Now is their time. And then when it gets real cold, they'll go dormant. But in the spring, they will start off a lot sooner than you would think, right? So we want them in the best position possible. So as soon as spring comes, they're already in the ground. The roots are the same temperature as the surrounding soil, so it's going to jive. It's going to go. I think it's real important. Okay. Vindicti says, can't have any other birds on the farm as a factory chicken farmers too. They even scare farmers and say, don't step in goose poop because you can spread bird flu. Yeah, biosecurity. They use it as a, it's one of, same as the Wu flu and everything else. It's always fear tactics. Okay. I found some shipping container freezers for sale on my favorite government surplus auction website. They run on electric hookup or built-in diesel engine. Could be great for the Homestead Butcher freezer. Yep. I adhere to the keep it simple thing. Wow, this is really, when I hit, I want it to go down, it goes down too far. Or not at all. Oh. I'm not sure what. I found some like the Krav Maga generator. I don't know. Just a little wet on the outside, then you can put some oil on it to overcome the wet till the dry inside gets going. Okay. Sometimes you get some dry seasoned wood, but it gets wet. The oil works good. Huh. I heard you need to put a can of rabbit manure in the bottom of the hole. No, I don't. From what I heard, I mean, maybe, but it made sense to me that if you put a lot of nutrient and it's right in that hole, then those roots are going to say, we'll just stay here. We don't want to work hard for our nutrient. so the roots do not expand. Now, there was another gal that I listened to. She was pretty good too. I can't remember her name right now. And she said, and I did subscribe to her, but she said there's a technique that works pretty good. You fill the bottom of the hole, so you go a lot deeper than you need to. You fill the bottom of the hole with old wood from the woods, rotted wood, like you would do in a Hugel culture mound. And so you fill that, a couple shovelfuls of that, and then you put the native dirt over that. And the roots will find that, and it's on the bottom of the hole, so it forces them to go through the native dirt into that, and hopefully they keep going. I didn't do it. It sounded good, but I thought, nope, I don't think I want to do that. I think I want these plants to thrive in the soil that is here for them. And I've got other apple trees on my property that are doing really good. So that's what I wanted. I didn't want to have to go. So I don't know. It sounded good, but something inside me said, nope, don't do it. Don't do it. And as I was doing the process, I thought, no, I'm where I want to be. Now, I when I got done, I thought, oh, I could have put some biochar down there. I should have, and I didn't. Okay. All right. So calories. We've got our process down. So that, what does that mean? You need to learn how to butcher. You've got to learn how to butcher. Setting up a butcher shop, that can be done at another time. I believe that what the process would go something like this. You take a class, you learn how to do these things. When you get home, after you've seen how it's set up, where you're being instructed, then it gives you a better idea when you get home of how you should set up your own process. Once you have something set up, it doesn't have to be full-fledged sinks and tables and cutting and all that. No, it could be a limb off of a tree and a picnic table. Or where our butcher shop is right now, we built it there because when we moved here, there was an old foundation there, and there was a freezer sitting in that old foundation, just an old-fashioned chest freezer. And we were going to butcher chickens, and that was the only. We didn't have a picnic table. It was the only thing we had as a surface to work on. I mean, this place was rough when we got here. There was nothing here, nothing. The buildings were falling down. We couldn't live in the house. We had to live in a tent in the backyard. So that's why we picked that location. And then after we got all the leaves out of it, and there was a bunch of junk in there, broken glass on it, we got all that out. Hey, this foundation is not in too bad a shape. We can work with this. So we put a new floor in it, and then we put a pole building off of that foundation and a roof. And at first, we just had a roof. And then we put the sides on it. And then, hey, let's put some windows in so we can see what we're doing. We had extension cords out there with drop lights. That's what we were working with. And it was better than nothing. It was better than just the chain fall that I've had. I have the same chain fall that I've had for like 30 years. And we put a rope on a tree limb out there with a chain fall on it. And that's what we hoisted pigs and cattle up into the tree to butcher them. And there was, just grass under there. There was no, and that works, but then you make it better the next time, and then better, and then better. And then, like, I just put a new faucet on the sink down there. And because the one that we had actually was broken, it had a vice grip on the hot, so you were just moving a vice grip to make it work, which is kind of not the greatest, but it worked. And the new faucet was pretty expensive, and we had to wait until we could get it. But that's the mindset you want to go. Why? Because how are you going to manage these calories that you have on your homestead? Now, anything that we do that is like fence related, animal moving related, is all about calories. All right. So I'm grazing cattle right now. I have been all summer, but now I have to be a little bit smarter about it because I've held a lot back from them. And now is the time that I want them to be intaking more calories. Because why? Because we're going into winter. So I want them to pack on a lot of weight going into the winter. Can you think of some place where the calories are stored? I can, right there. So I ate dinner tonight and I had a glass of milk that I didn't get a chance to drink and here it is. And it's just sitting there. There's a lot of calories in that milk. I'm going to get it. Oh, man. Raw milk is so good. Oh, they're on full grass right now. Wow, that is good. That is so good. Real mooey. Let's see what we got here. There's some information coming in. Okay, the ghost is saying, yes, there's a hiking trail that is actually an old railroad. The roots from the trees are all perpendicular to the tracks growing inside the old ties. They follow the moisture. It's called the Log Train Trail and proves the rotten wood thing you mentioned. Tree roots love rotten wood. Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I should try it then. Maybe I should. All right. So there you go. I'm always harping on getting your butchering operations together, and it's really working because I think there's about 20 people in our circle that have started building butcher shops. They have something going. And I really think you're the coolest kid in the neighborhood when it comes down to needing to get animals butchered so you can, sustain on them. So we're going to talk about seasonal planting. That's a good way. We talk about canning stuff. That's a good way, of course. Calories for the house that you're going to release in the wood stove. Wood. I mean, I live in a place where if I put a little effort in, there is wood everywhere. And there's even a lot of wood on this property that does need to be cleaned up. It's just, I guess I haven't done it in the past because it's really nice to have the semi come in and he puts it all in a stack. And then I just go out there and buzz it up. I don't have to go out in the woods, cut it, haul this one back, cut it, haul this one back. I don't have to do any of that, but it can be done for sure. It can be done. It would probably be a good idea to clean up a lot of the downfalled wood just on my property. Probably be a smart thing to do. So I probably will do that. All right. That's all I really had to talk about tonight. I got this subject this morning and I've been thinking about it all day, and I try to think of something new to say. But what did I do today? What did I do? I'll tell you what I did. I have a chicken area that we've had for like 15 years. It's probably, I guess it's about 50 by 50, I think is what it is. And it was something that we built because for the longest time we had our chicken mobile, egg mobile, and we would continually get chickens that would come up to the house, and they do a lot of damage. And so I finally said enough of this, and we built this area. We put up a 4-foot fence around, a 5-foot fence around it, and that was it. They've been in there ever since. The eggmobile was relegated to sitting in one spot, and that's how we've done chickens. So for the chickens to break down a lot of the stuff that we generate, like let's say you butcher a cow and that whole stomach's got to go someplace. We put it in with the chickens, and they pull it all apart. They eat all the little meat things, and they break it all down. Grass clippings goes in with the chickens. Any the canning process, all the parts of things that you can't go in the can, they throw those to the chickens, and chickens really take everything down. So for a long time, I've wanted to make it so the chickens could be released just before sundown, but only on the side of the fence that goes towards the back 40, right, where there is no buildings. There's no buildings out there. And my thought is, if they're released just before sunset, they'll go out and seek to find bugs and scratch through the cow patties, and hopefully there's enough barriers up that they can't get up to the barn. Because if they make it to the barn, they're in good shape. They like the barn. They like to, we'll sit on top of these hay bales here and we'll lay some eggs. This is going to be great, they'll say. Well, I want them to go back to the chicken house where their nests are. So what I did is I might go to the board again. I got a spot. Yeah, right up here. So I have a new chicken house that I built. It's sitting on a pad, and I got that much of the pad open, and I'm actually going to build a shed on there. But this one the roof goes that way. And then today I was fencing this, and I got as far as this right here with my fence. This is a gate that I can drive through. These are pretty standard corner posts that I put in, but they're a little higher. And I stretched the chicken wire. It did a really nice job. It looks really good. And then this is going to continue over, and this is going to be another pen like that. There'll be a gate there to get through. And then this is the existing pen that's here, like this. And the chicken house is over here. So there will be 1, 2, 3 of them. And don't you know, what I'm going to do on there is the same thing that I did in my grow area. I will get in here and rototill this. This is where they are now, and they've been for over 10 years, probably like 14 years. And I'm going to get in and I'm going to rototill that all up. I'm going to scoop a bunch of it out because it's full of nutrient, and nutrient equals what? Calories. I'm going to add a lot of that to the compost pile. And then this is grass and this is grass. But eventually what I'll do is I will replant that with rye. I'll replant that with rye. And then I can have the chickens on here until they take this down to nothing. And then I can get on this, rototill this in, plant something on that while they're over here. And we can rotate that same as we do with pigs. And so when I'm doing that, what am I actually doing? I am collecting the calories that come from the sun, right? That's what that is. That's what you're feeling. You're feeling that that energy when you feel that warmth. But if it's just hitting bare dirt, I'm not getting anything out of that. The dirt can't do anything with that. So therefore, the chickens have to be given, a high concentration feed of, with corn and soy and all that stuff in it. Or if you can swing going another route, that's good. But it's pretty expensive. I think we've got 75, 85, 100 chickens in there. Yeah, probably close to 100 chickens in there. And if we don't supplement their feed, they go through a lot of feed. And it's nice because you get eggs, and usually we sell the eggs, and it kind of makes up for the feed that we have to put in. But if I can grow these grow fields, and if I can do this just like I do the pigs, I might be able to cut that feed bill drastically. I know I can. Like, because laying chickens, they will eat whatever you put in front of them. And then the argument with that is well, if you don't give them laying mash, then you're not going to get an egg every day from them. And my answer to that is I don't want an egg every day from them. That's not my goal, is to get an egg a day. Let's say I've got 75, I think I have 75 chickens. Okay, so I got 75 chickens. If I get an egg from those 75 chickens every other day or every third day, I'm still getting quite a few eggs. And if I don't have to put a bag of feed in there every day or every other day, which is a $12 bag of feed, let's say, then I'm not really under the pressure to sell these eggs, which, I mean, in some cases that lack of pressure could lead to being lackadaisical, I suppose. But like with the pigs, I am growing the majority of their calories. So when I sell one of those pigs, what I make off of the sale of that pigs is really good, because I don't have to dedicate like a half of it or a third of it to paying for the feed that they've already eaten. See, so it really is it. There you go again. It's calorie management. I'm managing the calories. I want to make sure that my bases are covered and that I do make a gain. And I think you can do it. And that's the whole reason to go to this model. And another thing is too, like, okay, let's say you've got a farm, you've got 20 acres, and you have most of your processes on about 4 or 5 or 8 acres. Well, what about the rest of it? How are you utilizing that acreage? How are you gleaning the calories off of that acreage in such a way that it's going to benefit you and you're not going to destroy it? You want it to be a sustainable source of calories coming off of that, whatever it is, whether it's, let's say it's acorn trees. Oh, there's calories dropping out of those trees, that's for sure. And it's quite sustainable. How do you unlock those calories for human consumption? Well, real easy. Feed them to pigs, and then you eat the pigs. Or learn how to, I think we should all do this year too. This would be a great thing. I haven't done it yet, but I know it can be done. Wow, why is Jill texting me? I better check this. Oh, she's passing information to me. It's top secret, though. I can't tell you. Acorns, right? You have to figure out how to get that acorn open and get the meat out. And then those meats, the meats that are in there, the nut, the actual nut, you soak those, you leach out all of the tannic acid that's in there, and you put that aside for when you shoot your deer this year, and you're going to tan those buckskins and make things out of them. And then you can mill those meats. Now I don't know how to do it, but Beth does. I don't know how to do it, but then they are supposed to be really good to eat. And at this stage of the game, I still don't know what it's like to eat those. Other than, I've tried eating them and they're bitter as can be. Coastal, how you doing? Coastal saying, just moved my herd of pigs today from paddock 2 back to paddock 1. While they were in paddock 2 for 3 months, I planted paddock 1 with Indian corn and pumpkins. Indian corn? What do you mean Indian corn? It's kind of offensive. Thousands of pounds of food in there for them. Yeah. Corn and pumpkins. You can plant beans in there too. They call it the Three Sisters, and it's kind of a Indian thing, Native American thing. Do you mean Indians like woo or like red dot? I think I know what you mean. Just pulling your leg. I got multicolored corn. Yeah, multicolored. It's funny. Everything. A friend of mine was over. Parker was over this weekend, Sunday, and he says, you have got to listen to this video. And the video was, what is a woman? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a listen. The guy that made the movie, his name is Matt Walsh. I've never listened to him. My phone is around when Parker says this to me. What do you think comes up on my feed? What is a woman? The next day. So I'm like, all right, I'll listen to this. What is one? It is hilarious, right? Hilarious. This subculture of people that will not say what a woman is. It's round and round and round it goes. So I had a guy here today, one of our milk customers, and I was pulling his leg. And I said, hey, you want to see our new cow? And he says, yeah. And so I took him out there to show them this new cow. And I said, yeah, but, what is a cow? And he says, have you been listening to that what is a woman thing? Yeah. It's funny as anything. I just don't think it's going to get any traction with sensible people. All the people that don't want to say what a woman is, usually it's some long-haired dude with a beard and a mustache and high heels. Oh, yeah, we really care what you think about anything, right? And it was hilarious. But, it's not meant to be hilarious. It's meant to be kind of tragic and thought-provoking, but I just thought it was totally stupid. The whole, like, you guys know how I feel about the whole Bruce Jenner thing. I think that is just, that is ridiculous. That is just stupid. And that's all you're going to get from me on that. I'm not and we're supposed to, the media says, courageous. He's so courageous for putting a dress on. 60-year-old guy putting a dress on. Wouldn't that be courageous if I sat down here with a Baker's Green Acres halter top on or something? Would you all think I was courageous? Oh boy. Anyway, but yeah, my feed was full of that stuff today, and it's kind of funny. But like, what is a cow? I don't know what a cow is. All right, well, there it is. That's getting ready for winter and prepping for winter. It's all about calories. We got to quit looking at our homesteads as generators of dollars and look at them as generators of calories. Makes it a whole lot easier when you're scrounging because you see a pile of something, could be anything, and you think, ooh, it could be, let's say it's a pile of wood chips. I know there's calories there, but how do I release those onto the homestead? How do I do it? There's a good question for the tribe, because I can think of a couple ways to do it. Or you see a pile of telephone poles, or a pile of, you just start looking around, like you can tell that stuff is fair game. I can get that stuff if I want. There's a guy over here that is doing something that I'm really interested in. He is a logger. He's not really a logger. That's just kind of yeah, I shouldn't say he's a logger because he's a businessman. He has a couple guys that work for him that go into the woods and cut trees. So he gets leases on land, cuts trees, makes a way to get in there, gets in there with the trucks or a skidder, skids stuff out, loads trucks, brings the wood to his mill, right? Mills the lumber and sells the lumber. The scrap wood gets chipped, he sells mulch. The tops get cut into firewood, and he's got a couple of processors there that are making firewood all the time, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. So he's utilizing everything that he pulls out of the woods. And I just think that's pretty neat. And, I like that way of thinking. All those calories are getting used, and they never really get used and go away. They just get changed into something else. So when I take the calories in, you know what I mean. Okay, I'm getting tired. I'm going to call it a day. Are there any other parting shots, parting questions? We are going to have the consultation call tomorrow night. I guess that's what we're calling it. So it'll be 8:00 Zoom call. If you want to be in on it, the Tribe Plus people know how to get in. If you don't, call the farmhouse, talk to Jill. She'll show you how to get in. And it's a more intense Q&A. So I try to keep my blabbing to a minimal. If you come with questions, and I will answer them and expound on it a little bit. We can have some conversation. But yeah, come with your questions. Thursday night, our interview night, the person we were going to interview is not able to make it. So I'm not sure where we're going for Thursday night. If we don't get somebody to interview, well, let's say one of you guys wants to be interviewed in your homesteading operation, I'll be glad to do it. But if we don't get somebody, we'll just do a standard show like tonight. We'll just take the next thing and we'll expound on it. But I don't have an interviewee. I don't have a guinea pig yet. I thought that our interview last week was really good with Theo. Yeah, I thought that was really good. I just think that is the way to go. I don't know if it came up, but the membership model, PMA, it's Private Membership Association. It's not new. The Democratic National Committee is a PMA. The GOP is a PMA. The Boy Scouts of America, PMA, right? So it's nothing new. It's just we didn't know about it. It was kind of kept from us. Ghost says, we used to grab the odd log we could find when I worked on tugs and tie them up to the shore. Once I had enough, I would wait for a low tide and buck them up. Great source of free wood. Yeah. Yeah, at the beach, a lot of times, if you can get a vehicle down there, wow, there's tons of wood out there. But they don't want you to drive on the beach. And I don't want to get stuck on the beach. I think that would really stink. But yeah. All right, I'm going to pack it in. Thanks, everybody, for coming. There it is. There it is. And we will see you tomorrow night.